today is my Lin Xiaoxiao's wedding day. It was originally the hottest day in the capital, but now, I am standing in the middle of my yard, wearing a big red wedding dress, and my face is whiter than paper. The surroundings were talking about private words, and their eyes were stabbed on me like a knife. The man standing opposite me, Zhao Zi'ang, my fiancé, was cold and spitting out his mouth was more biting than the ice in winter. Lin Xiaoxiao, today I officially announce that I will end your wedding. From now on, you and I will have nothing to do with you. Zhao Zi'ang was wearing a robe, and his handsome face was full of disdain, as if he was looking at a piece of garbage. My brain buzzed, and my whole body seemed to be struck by lightning. What does this mean? Break off an engagement? Will everyone break off the engagement on the wedding day? Isn't this killing me? Why? I gritted my teeth, my voice trembling. Didn't you say that you will become a member of your family today and then have a good life together? This guy sent someone to send a love token last night. Why did he change his face overnight? Zhao Zi'ang sneered and glanced at a woman wearing Chinese clothes beside her. I know that woman, Chen Man, the daughter of Chen Shang's bookmaker, and the top-notch and precious woman in the capital. She was dressed like a flower today, with a hint of pride on the corner of her mouth, and her eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake. Why? Because I found someone who is more suitable than you. Lin Xiaoxiao, you are the concubine daughter of a small household, and you don't deserve to carry my shoes. Man is my true destiny. Zhao Zi'ang said, and deliberately took Chen Man's hand, showing off his love. The surrounding buddan exploded and the discussion was like a tide. Hey, this lady Lin is so depressed. She was dismissed on the wedding day and her face was gone. Who said no? Mr. Zhao is a popular figure in the capital. How could he like this kind of goods? Miss Chen is the immortal who came to Earth. Lin Xiao finished this and became a joke in the whole capital. Who dares to marry her in the future? Every word is like a knife, penetrated hard into my heart. I clenched my fists and my nails were embedded in my flesh, but I didn't dare to say anything. Because I know that speaking more now will only make myself lose myself. Although I, Lin Xiaoxiao, is from a small household, I also have my own dignity. But the more I don't speak, the more I feel. He was even more mean in his words. Lin Xiaoxiao, don't think I, Zhao Zi'ang, are such a philanthropist. When I first got married, it was because your father had some little power. Now I have climbed into the Chen family. Do you still stay wherever you were in a hurry? As soon as this happened, Chen Man covered his mouth and smiled slightly, his eyes full of mockery, as if he was looking at a stomped thorn. I was so angry that I couldn't even say a retort. Because he said it right, my father is just a fifth-rank official and doesn't even watch it in the place where the clouds are so powerful that he can gather in Beijing. The Chen family is the top door in the court. Zhao Zi'ang, a dog-licking dog, obviously went there with his authority. Just when I felt like I was about to collapse, something hard suddenly came to my feet. I looked down and saw that it was an inconspicuous jade pendant, green and radiating a faint light. I don't know who dropped it, but I subconsciously started to pick it up and held it in my palm. Strangely, as soon as I bought the jade pendant, I felt like something was hit in my brain, and then a clear feeling swelled all over my body. What's this? I muttered in my heart, but the next second, something strange happened. My visual line swept over Zhao Zi'ang, and a string of messages suddenly appeared in my brain. Zhao Zi'ang, thinking, I broke off the engagement on the surface, but I actually wanted to use the Chen family to take over, but I still had some trouble with Lin Xiao, worried that she would turn over in the future, and deliberately humiliate everyone to block her future. I was stunned. What's going on? How can I know what this guy is thinking? When I looked at Chen Man again, there was another string of information in my brain. Chen Man, my mind, I have a gentle surface, but my heart is deep. I used Zhao Zi'ang to suppress Lin Xiao, worried that Lin Xiao would reply to Zhao Zi'ang, and specifically promoted the waves to help the enemy. Damn, can this jade pendant see through people's hearts? This is too amazing. I felt ecstatic in my heart, as if I had been sucked into my treasure. With this, what are I afraid of? Zhao Zi'ang wants to step on me? Chen Man wants to see me laugh? Okay, Andy will play with you today. I raised my head, and my originally drooping eyes instantly became sharp. Zhao Zi'ang was still talking nonsense to humiliate me, and I directly slammed him, with a cold voice. Zhao Zi'ang, do you really think that breaking the engagement is to climb the top of the tree? Zhao Zi'ang was stunned, obviously not expecting me to dare to talk back. He snorted coldly, wonder. Lin Xiao, don't deceive yourself. You and I are not from the same world at all. Is that right? I curled the corners of my mouth, and looked over him and Chen Man, and his words were ridiculous. I don't think so. Zhao Zi'ang, you say it beautifully, but are you still reluctant to let me go? Are you afraid that I will turn over in the future, so I will step on me and block my future? As soon as this happened, Zhao Zi'ang's face changed instantly. He widened his eyes, as if he had been poked into something, and he snatched his lips hard. What are you talking nonsense? Will I be reluctant to let you go? Make a dream. Oh? Then why did you send someone to send a token of love last night? Today I turned my face and didn't recognize anyone? I continued to ask, and at the same time the power of the jade pendant in my brain gave me another message. Zhao Zi'ang, thought, panic, I did give the token last night, but I didn't want to admit it, for fear of being mistaken by Chen Man. I felt happy in my heart and continued to replenish my knife. The token is still in my room. Do I want me to take it out and show you to everyone? Or are you afraid that Miss Chen will not be happy when she finds out? Zhao Zi'ang's face turned green, and hesitated and couldn't speak. Chen Man's expression froze, and he looked at Zhao Zi'ang with a deep look, and he obviously began to doubt him. The surrounding Fengku was even more shocked, and one was like watching a big show, with discussions one after another. My God, Lin Xiao, is this open? Why is he suddenly so hard? Young Master Zhao won't really give the token, right? If this is true, it would be great. Miss Chen's face is dark, ha ha ha, it's interesting to break off the engagement scene. I looked at Zhao Zi'ang's blue face and felt so happy. This is the harm of the jade pendant. Today, my aunt not only needs to protect herself, but also let you know that I, Lin Xiao, are not easy to bully. Lin Xiao, you don't have bloody mouths. Zhao Zi'ang finally said, his voice trembling with a little bit of trembling, when did I send the token? You are deliberately slandering me. Smear? I sneered and turned to look at the maid Xiao Chui next to me. Xiao Chui, go to my room and take out the jade keel that Mr. Zhao sent last night to open your eyes. Xiao Chui was stunned for a moment, but when she looked at me with a firm look, she ran in with a head. Before long, she really came out with an exquisite box, with a transparent jade skull lying inside, with 4 words Zi'ang Rong engraved on her body. Now, the whole scene is peaceful. Zhao Zi'ang's face seemed to be hard to see after eating shit. Chen Man was so angry that he gritted his teeth and saw his eyes scraping over Zhao Zi'ang like a knife. Zhao Zi'ang, what else do you have to say? I held my arms, full of mockery. I said I broke off the engagement, but I couldn't let it go in my heart. Or did you put the pressure on the 2 sides and pedal the 2 boats? Lin Xiaoxiao, you! Zhaozi was so excited that he couldn't speak. His face was red and his neck was thick, as if he would come over to tear me at any time. But I was not panicked and continued to replenish my knife. Is there anyone like Miss Chen, Zhao Zi'ang, worthy of your entrustment to death? Don't be sold by then, and you will still help him with money. Chen Man's face turned dark and his eyes were full of poison, but with such many people, she could only smile hard. Miss Lin was laughing. Zi'ang was wholeheartedly devoted to me, so where did he step on 2 boats? You know whether you are single-minded or not. I snatched the next sentence, turned around and left. I was not interested in keeping them on the spot to continue watching. Today, although the marriage was not restored, at least Zhao Zi'ang and Chen Man's faces were exhausted. My aunt's voice was calculated. When I returned to the room, I closed the door and held the jade pendant. My heart was still pounding. This thing is so amazing. It can see through people's hearts and is simply my life-saving tool. With it, who am I afraid of? Zhao Zi'ang, Chen Man, you wait, breaking the engagement is just the beginning. I, Lin Xiao, would have made you kneel down and beg me to turn back. Just as she was thinking, Xiao Chui's voice suddenly came out of the door. Miss, someone is coming from the palace. I said that I was sending a request for the banquet. Celebration? I raised my eyebrows and let Xiao Chui take the invitation letter in. When we opened the exhibition, it was indeed an invitation from the palace. It was said that 3 days later, the palace hall held a feast, inviting ladies from all over the capital to participate, and said that even His Royal Highness the Crown Prince would be there. My heart moved, and the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curl up. A palace banquet, this is a great opportunity to turn things around. Didn't Zhao Zi'ang think I'm not worthy of him? Didn't Chen Man want to step on me to get on the top? Okay, then I'll let you see how I, Lin Xiao, played a brilliant show at the banquet and stomped you under my feet. Xiao Chui, prepare for it. I will enter the palace in 3 days. I want everyone in the capital to know that I, Lin Xiaoxiao, is not a good person to bully. I held the jade pendant tightly, and my eyes were full of fighting ambition. 3 days passed in a flash, and on the day of the palace banquet, I, Lin Xiao, wore a long water blue dress and had a few beads on my head. Although it was not as good as those precious girls, I was still fresh and unconventional. After taking the copper lens, I was quite satisfied with my own appearance. It's not me who brags about her long appearance. I won't give Chen Man the woman who acts like a dress. I'm not here to accompany her at this banquet today. Xiao Chui, go, enter the palace. I tightened the jade pendant and walked out of the door with steady steps. With this magical artifact in my hand, I feel full of enthusiasm. No matter whether you are Chen Man or Zhao Zi'ang, my aunt must let you see you today. The imperial palace is indeed a fashionable style, with a golden and blue hall, carved beams and paintings, and all the eyes are full of luxury. After entering the banquet hall, I saw the precious women in groups of gangs, dressed like peacocks on their faces, smiling falsely, and speaking indifferent flattery in their mouths. Chen Man was also in the crowd. Today she wore a big red dress with gold tiles on her head. She looked away, like a moving jewelry rack. As soon as she saw me, Lima showed a smiley expression, twisted her waist and walked over. Yi, isn't this Miss Lin? I was just broken off the engagement a few days ago. Why did you still have a face to have a banquet today? Are you not afraid of being dismissed again? Several valuable women around him heard it, and kept covering their mouths and laughing, their eyes full of mockery. I snorted coldly in my heart, rubbed the jade pendant gently with my fingers, and Chen Man's thoughts appeared in the sea of my brain. Chen Man, thoughts, deliberately picking Lin Xiaoxiao, wanting to humiliate her, so that she can retreat. It is best to take the initiative to leave the palace banquet. Ha, it's really a slut, and you still want to let me humiliate myself? Go dreaming. I raised my head and smiled faintly. Miss Chen smiled. The palace banquet is the grace of the emperor and the empress, so I naturally dare not come. However, Miss Chen, dressed so grandly today, is she afraid that she would not be too good to look at others, or is she worried that young Master Zhao would look at others more often on the spot? As soon as this happened, Chen Man's face suddenly froze, and the precious women around him couldn't help laughing. She gritted her teeth and reluctantly smiled. Miss Lin is really good at laughing. Zi'ang and I are more in love than gold, so why should we worry about this? Is that right? That's good. I replied lightly. My eyes swept past Zhao Zi'ang, who was not far away. He was dressed like a model today, but when he saw me, he showed a few complicated expressions on his face. The power of the jade pendant began to exert effect again, and his thoughts appeared in the brain. Zhao Zi'ang, thoughts, I regretted seeing Lin Xiao. I thought she looked particularly beautiful today, but I was afraid that Chen Man would be dissatisfied, so I could only wear it and not care about it. I felt happy that a scumbag is a scumbag. I was so determined that I could speak, but my eyes were still old. Okay, today I will make you feel so happy that you can't get anything. The banquet officially began, with the emperor and the queen sitting in the main seat, and the princely Haotian sitting in the lower head. He was wearing a black dragon pattern robe, with starry eyebrows and starry eyes, and his body was filled with a cold feeling that he would not be able to approach others, but he was so handsome that he couldn't open his eyes. The expensive women in the capital secretly glanced at him, and they were all red-collared on their faces, and they all seemed to be nervous. I lowered my head and took a sip of tea, thinking that this prince was indeed as cold as ice as the ones he said. But it doesn't matter. I'm not here to be a kid today. I have to deal with the dogs, such as Chen Man Man and Zhao Zi'ang. Just as he was thinking, Chen Man Man suddenly stood up and walked towards me with a glass of wine. His mouth was smiling softly, and his eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake. Miss Lin, I was too frustrated before and hurt your heart. Today I would like to pay a cup of wine. How about it? Everyone around me had read it and the discussion started to sound. What does Miss Chen mean? Why did you suddenly show your gratitude to Lin Xiao? It seems unsimple. Miss Chen is not the one who eats it. I'm afraid there is something wrong with this glass of wine. I squinted my eyes, rubbed my fingers gently with my jade pendant, and Chen Man Man's thoughts appeared in the sea of my brain. Chen Man Man, thoughts. I added a drug to the wine. As long as Lin Xiao drinks it, when everyone gets angry, it will make her lose her reputation and no chance of turning over again. What a poisonous woman. If I really drink this wine, won't I be completely finished? But I didn't speak loudly on my face and smiled and took the wine glass. Miss Chen is so kind, I won't recommend it. Chen Man Man's eyes flashed with pride, and he obviously thought I was convinced. But she didn't know that I had seen through her little tricks for a long time. I pretended to drink it, but the moment the cup touched my mouth, I deliberately shook my hand, and the wine glass fell to the ground with a pop and the wine filled the floor. Oh, I'm so embarrassed, my hand slipped. I put on a look of panic, and quickly wiped the corners of my skirt with a veil, and talked a few points on my mouth. Miss Chen's wine is so fragrant, it's intoxicating when I hear it, but unfortunately I don't have the luck to share it. As soon as this happened, the whole scene was quiet for a moment, and just a few precious girls couldn't help but laughed. Chen Man Man's face turned blue in an instant. She gritted her teeth and said in a low voice, Lin Xiaoxiao, what do you mean? It's nothing. I blinked innocently, I just think the wine is fragrant and sniffed. Miss Chen chose it specially. It can't be wasted, right? Why don't you find a servant to come and see if there's really a problem? Chen Man Man's face was even more difficult to see. Of course, she didn't dare to let anyone try drinking, because once a problem occurred, she would be exposed. She could only smile hard. Miss Lin laughed. This is just ordinary fruit wine, so how could there be any problem? Oh? Then why don't Miss Chen drink a drink by herself? I smiled and filled my knife, my eyes so sharp that it looked like a knife. Or, I can only drink this wine, but no one can touch it. This directly forced Chen Man Man to the corner of the wall. She stammered and couldn't speak. Her face turned white and red, like a colored plate. Everyone around saw that the relationship was wrong, and the debate was getting louder and louder, and everyone was wondering if the wine was really full of cats. At this moment, a low male voice suddenly rose, with a little coldness, I think that someone should try this wine. I was stunned and looked up and saw that it was the princely Haotian who was talking. He stared at Chen Man Man with cold eyes, with unquestionable pressure in his language. Miss Chen, since you said there is no problem with this wine, why not drink it yourself, how about it? The whole scene was quiet for a moment, and everyone held their breath. Chen Man Man's face turned white and his lips were shaking, but when she looked at the prince's face, how could she dare not say it? She could only pick up another glass of wine and take a sip with her skin. I almost laughed in my heart. There must be no problem with this glass of wine, otherwise how could she dare to drink it? But her heartless look has already made everyone see the clues. Sure enough, the expensive women around began to talk privately, with doubts in their eyes. It seems that Miss Chen's wine is really not simple. What did Lin Xiao leave today? Even His Royal Highness the Crown Prince will tell her. I secretly glanced at Li Haotian and found that he was looking at me, and there was a bit of excitement in his eyes. My heart thumped. Could I think this iceberg prince is interested in me? But I didn't think too much about it. My first task now is to deal with Chen Man Man. Your Highness the Crown Prince is wise. I smiled at Li Haoyan, and his words were neither humble nor arrogant. But Miss Chen's wine is probably not just the surface of this problem. I just heard from the servant that someone saw Miss Chen's maid adding something to the wine, but I don't know whether it was true or false. This was purely written by me, but Chen Man heard it, and his face became even more difficult to see in an instant, and it was obviously something that was touched. She hurriedly explained, "Lin Xiao, don't let the bloody mouth blow. When did I ask someone to add something? Have you added any more? You'll know if you ask someone." I smiled softly, and turned directly to the maid behind Chen Man. "You came here, did you add something to the wine?" The maid was so surprised that her face turned pale when she heard it. She knelt on the ground with a sound, and said with a silence, "Miss, I say." Li Haoyan's voice was low, with an irresistible sense of pressure. The maid could no longer hold back and cried, "It was the masturbation that the lady asked me to add. She said that she wanted to make Miss Lin have a sucking pain after drinking it, and I had no choice." As soon as this happened, the whole scene was silent. Chen Man's face turned pale in an instant, as if he had been drained from blood. She also wanted to make a fuss, but Li Haoyan snorted coldly, "Miss Chen is such a big boy. You dare to put medicine at the banquet and come and take her down and hand it over to your mother to deal with it." Several servants immediately stepped forward and dragged Chen Man down. She slammed all the way, shouting, "Your Highness, the Crown Prince," but no one dared to plead for mercy. I looked at her dragged away and felt so happy. Dare to count on me? This is the next scene. But what I didn't expect was that Zhao Zi'ang actually stood up at this time and looked at me with a tinge of face. "Lin Xiao, you're so tired. Man was just a mess, why should you be aggressive?" I almost laughed. Did this scumbag really treat himself as a savior? I looked at him coldly. "Zhao Zi'ang, Chen Man used medicine to harm others. You didn't blame her, but blamed me instead? Are you getting into the brain, or are you still protecting her in your heart?" Zhao Zi'ang was so choked by me that he couldn't speak, his face was blue and white. The eyes of the people around him also became strange when they looked at him, and they were obviously mocking him for being a dog-licking person. At this moment, Li Haoyan suddenly stood up and walked to me slowly. His voice was low and he carried a few gentle points. "Miss Lin was shocked. I think you are not as handsome as you should go to the Imperial Garden to relax. How about it?" I was stunned, raised my head and faced his deep eyes, my heart pounding. What's going on? The Prince of Iceberg took the initiative to invite me to relax? This drama is not right. But with such many people in front of me, I dare not refuse. I could only point my head. "Thank you, Your Highness." But what I didn't notice was that Zhao Zi'ang looked at Li Haoyan and I and were standing shoulder to shoulder with his back, his eyes full of jealousy and reluctance. He gritted his teeth and gave a few instructions to the servants beside him, which obviously made him feel bad. The night in the Imperial Garden is as beautiful as a painting, the moonlight is on the rockery and the flowing water, and the air is filled with a faint fragrance of flowers. I followed Li Haoyan, and my heart was like a little rabbit in my heart, pounding. What does this iceberg prince suddenly bring me to relax? Is it really interesting to me? But how do I think this is not that simple? Miss Lin seems to be absent-minded. Li Haoyan suddenly stopped and turned to look at me, his eyes as deep as if he could suck someone in. I was shocked and quickly smiled. Your Highness laughed. It's just the first time I've entered the Imperial Garden, and I'm a little dazzled. He raised his eyebrows and did not expose me. He tried to speak with a few points. I heard that Miss Lin was dismissed by the Zhao family a few days ago. Today, she was calculated by Miss Chen at the banquet. But you are not troublesome and should be free, which makes the palace look at her with admiration. My heart skipped a beat. Why did I hear this as if I was asking me? But on the face, I remained calm and replied lightly, Your Highness has won the prize. I am just a woman with a small household. How can I have any skills? I just don't want to be trampled under my feet, so I was forced to get snatched. Li Haoyan heard it, and there was a strange light flashing in his eyes, as if he was quite satisfied with my answer. He pointed his head and continued to walk forward, and suddenly said, Ms. Lin's mind is somewhat similar to an old friend I know. An old friend? What an old friend? I was stunned, and a bunch of doubts appeared in my brain, but I dared not ask more. I could only follow him and secretly figure out what this meant in my heart. Is it hard to know if this prince has any unknown story? Just as I was thinking, the jade pendant suddenly became slightly hot. I subconsciously touched it, and no information appeared in my brain. Strange, why doesn't it work? At this moment, a sudden rush of footsteps came from the front. Then a young lady ran over in panic and knelt on the ground, trembling with her voice, "Your Highness, it's not good. Miss Chen." Miss Chen did it in the side hall, saying that she couldn't stand the humiliation, so please give her justice. What? Do it yourself? My brain buzzed and Lima looked at Li Xiaoxiao. His face sank instantly, his eyebrows were tightly locked, and his voice was as cold as ice. "Take this palace to take a look." The young lady rushed up and walked forward. I followed behind, wondering in my heart. Chen Man was dragged down at the banquet just now, so why did he turn his eyes to the death? Why is this so unfavorable when I hear it? I subconsciously touched the jade pendant, but unfortunately I still had no reaction. Could it be that I just used it too frequently and I lost my spirit at a time? When I arrived at the side hall, I saw Chen Man lying on the ground. His face was white, and there was still blood scattered on the corners of his mouth. A broken porcelain bottle was scattered beside him, and there was a pungent smell of medicine in the air. Several palace ladies were trembling with fear. Zhao Zi'ang stood aside, looking at Chen Man with sad faces, and shouting in his mouth, Man, why are you so stupid? I shouldn't let you bear these alone." I watched the scene and sneered in my heart. Where is the acting? Chen Man is such a scheming bitch, how could he be so easy to do so? I blinked my eyes and noticed that her fingers moved slightly. Although the amplitude was small, I still caught it. Ha, it's really installed. But I didn't say anything because I wanted to see what trouble this guy and woman were going to do. Li Xiaoxiao walked over with a cold face, glanced at Chen Man on the ground, and there was no temperature in his voice. "Where's the doctor? Find out what's going on." An old lady rushed forward. After checking, she replied with her eyebrows, "Your Highness, Miss Chen has indeed taken the poison, but the toxicity is not strong, and it should be ineffective if she treats it in time. She is intending to do it, and she wants to clear her suspicion." As soon as this came out, Zhao Zi'ang's face became difficult to see. He hurriedly opened his mouth. "Your Highness, what does Thai doctor mean?" Man clearly couldn't stand the humiliation and went on the road. How could he say that she was intentional? "Lin Xiao, are you making trouble behind the scenes again? Are you still unhappy with Man being like this by you?" I heard the fire was rising upwards. This scumbag really dared to turn the tables. I sneered and retorted without any politeness, "Zhao Zi'ang, how did you see me hurt her? Chen Man gave me a medicine to harm people by himself, and he would just pretend to be in trouble. You only believe this kind of trick. Or do you know her plan for a long time, and now you deliberately take it for her?" Zhao Zi'ang's face was green by me, but he still didn't give up and said with gritted teeth, "Lin Xiaoxiao, don't spray people like this. Man is sincere to me, why would he do this? It's obvious that you are so jealous of her that you deliberately framed her." As soon as this happened, the eyes of several palace ladies and young men around him changed and they began to talk privately. It was obvious that some people were deviated from the rhythm. My heart sank, and I didn't expect that a scumbag like Zhao Zi'ang would be able to go black and white. But at this moment, Li Xiaoxian's face became even colder. He turned to look at Zhao Zi'ang, and there was a warning in his voice, "Zhao Zi'ang, you can't let go of nonsense in front of me. The iron certificates of Chen Man's drug are like a mountain. If you make a cunning decision on her again, I don't mind being punished with you." When Zhao Zi'ang heard this, he closed his mouth in a scary way, his face as white as paper. But his eyes slapped me with a poisonous look, and he was obviously unwilling to accept it. I felt a little nervous in my heart, and I always felt that this guy was still hiding a trick. Sure enough, no matter how long a girl came in, a young palace girl suddenly ran in, holding a letter in her hand, and sent it to Li Haoyan tremblingly. "Your Highness, this is the letter I just found in Miss Chen's room," which was written, writing Miss Lin had an affair with a man from outside. She deliberately framed Miss Chen, hoping to borrow the opportunity to climb to your Highness. What? Private affairs? My brain was almost blown up. Where did this come from? But before I could react, Zhao Zi'ang jumped out and looked at me with a heartbroken look. "Lin Xiao, I really didn't expect that you would be so shameless." Man said correctly, "You are a woman with deep aspirations, and you don't take any means to get ahead." I was so angry that I shook my body, but Li Haoyan's face was so scary that he looked down at the letter, his eyes as cold as if he could kill people. I felt a panic in my heart. How could he really believe this ghost? But I still replied with a tough voice, "Zhao Zi'ang, don't say nonsense like this. Who wrote this letter? What are the evidences? Lin Xiao, is open and honest. What are the personal affairs?" Li Haoyan heard it and looked up at me, with a little suspicion in his eyes. He asked with a low voice, "Miss Lin, this letter is clearly written. You said that you had a secret conversation with a man and had made a secret meeting in the Imperial Garden tonight. Is there anything wrong?" I was stunned, and Lima realized that this was a trap. They must have wanted to use this fake letter to create the illusion of my private relationship with others, so that Li Haoyan would be disappointed in me. I gritted my teeth, my brain flew quickly, in a sneered voice, "Your Highness, this letter is purely fabricated. If someone really has a secret meeting with me, why don't your Highness send someone to the Imperial Garden to see it? I have been following your Highness tonight. Where did you get a secret meeting?" When Zhao Zi'ang heard this, Lima was anxious. "Lin Xiao, do you still dare to make a cunning move? That person must have arrived long ago and just wait for you to come. Your Highness, we might as well go to the Imperial Garden now and catch the adulterer on the spot." Li Haoyan heard it and his eyes became even colder. He pointed at the head. "Okay, then go and have a look." My heart sank, knowing that this was the game set by Zhao Zi'ang and Chen Man, but I didn't have to choose, so I could only go with me. When we arrived at the Imperial Garden, we saw a man in black standing sneakily behind the rockery. As soon as we saw us coming, he turned around and ran away. Zhao Zi'ang shouted proudly, "Your Highness, you see it. This is Lin Zhao's rape husband. She really can't help but feel sad." I almost vomited blood, but Li Haoyan's face was already very cold at this time. He turned to look at me, his voice full of disappointment. "Miss Lin, I thought you were different from everyone else, but I didn't expect, you disappointed me." This pierced into my heart like a knife. I gritted my teeth and tried to unravel it, but after I spoke, I couldn't say anything. Because I know that everything is like cunning now, and this game is too poisonous and I can't clean it up at all. But at this moment, the jade pendant suddenly became hot, and a string of messages finally appeared in the brain. "Zhao Zi'ang, my mind is proud. This man in black was paid for by him, and he also created the letter. The purpose is to let the prince abandon Lin Xiao and destroy her in the end." I was shocked and I finally caught a life-saving straw. I took a deep breath and looked up at Li Haoyan. The voice was calm and calm. "Your Highness, I, Lin Xiao, dare to swear to God. I have never had an affair with any man. This man in black is clearly a man who set up a bureau on purpose and wanted to make your Highness mistake me. If your Highness doesn't believe it, you can catch that person and you will know it with a question." Li Haoyan heard it, his eyes slightly moved, and he was obviously a little moved. He turned to look at Zhao Zi'ang and said coldly, "Zhao Zi'ang, do you dare to guarantee that this matter has nothing to do with you?" Zhao Zi'ang was stunned, his face became panicked in an instant, but he still said hard, "Your Highness, I naturally dare to guarantee it. What does this matter have to do with me? It is obvious that Lin Xiao is not clean himself." I sneered and put on the knife. "Is that right? Zhao Zi'ang, do you dare to let someone catch the man in black back, and be right? Or do you think you have a ghost in your heart, afraid that he will shake your old foundation when he opens his mouth?" As soon as this happened, Zhao Zi'ang's face turned pale and hesitated and couldn't speak. Li Haoyan didn't understand what he saw. He snorted coldly and shook his hand at the servant next to him. "Go, catch the person back." I want to see who is doing something behind my back." The servants chased after him and caught the man in black back in a short while. When the man saw Zhao Zi'ang, his legs were so scared that he knelt down. He shouted, "Your Highness, your life." The youngest was instructed by Mr. Zhao. He gave me 102 silver pieces, so that I could pretend that I had an affair with Miss Lin, and said that I would give me another 102 after the matter was completed. As soon as this happened, the whole scene was silent. Zhao Zi'ang's face turned pale in an instant, as if it was blood-colored by someone. He also wanted to make a fool of himself, but Li Haoyan's eyes were so cold that they could kill him. "Zhao Zi'ang, you are such a big slut. You dare to play this kind of trick in front of this palace. Come and take him down and leave it to your father to fall." When Zhao Zi'ang heard this, he was so scared that he knelt down and begged, "Your Highness, your life. I just spent a while. I beg your Highness to be kind to you." But Li Haoyan ignored him at all. He snatched his hand and dragged him down. I looked at his wolfish back and felt so happy. "Scumbag, this is what you asked for." Chen Man dressed himself up. Zhao Zi'ang was framed by the bureau. Is there anything more fun now about double car racing? But what I didn't expect was that Li Haoyan suddenly turned to look at me at this time, with a gentle look in his eyes. He opened his mouth quietly, his voice was low and shocked the whole scene. "Miss Lin was wronged. This palace will make the decision today and announce that you are the choice of the crown princess of this palace. From now on, who dares to insult you half again, this palace will definitely not be light." As soon as this happened, my brain was confused. What? Chosen the crown princess? This happiness is too sudden. The palace maid around me kept lowering her head and paying respect, and the sounds came one after another, but my heart was pounding, and I always felt that this was not finished. Sure enough, at this moment, a rapid sound of footsteps suddenly came from far away. A young supervisor ran over sweating profusely and knelt down and reported, "Your Highness, it's not good. Miss Chen was rescued from prison, and her whereabouts are unknown now." My heart was shocked, and Lima realized that there must be a bigger sarcasm behind this. What kind of attack is there for Chen Man, this poisonous woman? When I heard the news that Chen Man was rescued, my heart skipped a beat and the smile on my face was almost unable to stop. This woman was just dressed up and sympathized with her. Now she was rescued again. There must be a big fish behind her back. However, I didn't look loud and glanced at Li Haoyan, and found that his face was as heavy as the day before the rain. It was obvious that this matter was not that simple. "Your Highness, Chen Man is so cunning. Being rescued is definitely not a good thing. We have to investigate it tightly, otherwise we might have some bad ideas," I reminded in a low voice, with a few anxiety in my language. Li Haoyan pointed his head, his eyes turned cold, and he turned to the young master, "Send the order to search for Chen Man in the whole city, and he must catch the person back no matter what. Also, find out who is such a big slut and dares to wield his hand in the palace." The young master rushed to retreat, and the atmosphere was as tight as a string. I secretly calculated in my heart that Chen Man was having a good time playing with this trick, but the more she did, the more she proved that she was indifferent. "Since you dare to fight against me, don't blame me for being ruthless. Miss Lin, there are many twists and turns today. You should go back to Dong Palace to rest from this palace first. When the matter is revealed, this palace will give you an explanation." Li Haoyan's voice was low, with the power to make people feel at ease. My heart warmed up and followed him a little. As soon as I stepped into the East Palace, I was stunned by the scene in front of me. Carved beams, paintings, pearls and jade screens, and low-key luxury everywhere, which is more than 100 times stronger than the small and dilapidated yard of my house. I couldn't help but take a sneak peek at Li Haoyan, thinking that this guy is worthy of being the crown prince, and even his residence is so arrogant. As his crown princess, it doesn't seem to be worthy of it either. What are you looking at? Li Haoyan suddenly turned around, with a teasing in his eyes, which obviously saw through my little thoughts. My face was hot and I hurriedly said, "No, nothing. I just think Dong Palace is so beautiful, and your highness is so delicious. He hummed lightly, and without saying anything more, he took me into the inner hall and ordered the palace maid to prepare hot tea and have fun. I sat on the couch, biting a piece of osmanthus cake in my mouth, and I couldn't relax at all in my heart. Chen Man was puzzled by the matter, and he always felt that there was a thorn in his mind, and the scumbag Zhao Zi'ang was dragged down. Who knew if he would jump into the wall in a hurry? Just as he was thinking, a sudden rush of footsteps came from outside the door, and then a waiter walked in, kneeling in, and reported, "Your Highness, Zhao Zi'ang is in prison, saying that he should see Miss Lin, otherwise, he will bite his tongue and do whatever he wants." I almost sprayed the osmanthus cake in my mouth. Bite your tongue to your own? This scumbag will really act. I just looked like a poisonous look, but now I'm so tired. I probably want to see me for the last time, beg me to let him go, right? I sneered and looked at Li Xiaoxiao. "Your Highness, this person is just a sperm. Do you see what's wrong? Why not let him slowly reflect in prison?" But Li Xiaoxiao narrowed his eyes slightly, as if he had thought of something, and said in a deep voice, "No, if you take him over, I want to see what kind of flowers he can play." Before long, Zhao Zi'ang was taken in. He was wearing prison uniform, his hair was scattered, and he was still carrying a few injuries on his face, watching the wolf being so stubborn. But when he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he knelt on the ground with a sound, his voice choked like the real one, "Soon, I'm wrong. I really know it's wrong. I was obsessed with breaking off the engagement at first, but now I understand that you are the most important person in my heart. Please give me a plea with your Highness and let me go." I almost laughed out loud when I looked at his hypocritical appearance. Is this guy really a fool? When he first broke the engagement, he was not at all worried. Now that he is now looking around, he begging me to go back? Go dreaming. I glanced at him coldly, and my language was filled with mockery. "Zhao Zi'ang, you really have a face to say this. When everyone broke the engagement, why didn't you remember the past relationship? Now that I'm down and out, I remembered me? Sorry, Lin Xiao, don't take this trick." Zhao Zi'ang's face became difficult to see in an instant, but he still didn't give up and continued to cry, "Soon, I really regret it. I've seen that woman Chen Man clearly, she had already seen her true face. She was instigating me to harm you, and I was forced to be helpless. As long as you are willing to imprison me, I swear that this person will treat you well and will never betray you. It's so." I slapped the table suddenly, stood up, my eyes as cold as a knife. "Zhao Zi'ang, don't be such a disgusting person. How much money is your sincerity worth? I, Lin Xiao, have seen through your face. Now I am the crown princess, and I can't help you to write your hand. Let me say one more word, believe it or not, I will let your Highness directly distribute you to the border and never return to Beijing." As soon as this came out, Zhao Zi'ang's face turned pale and his lips were so trembling that he couldn't speak. He also wanted to slap again, but Li Xiaoxiao opened his mouth coldly at this time, and his voice was filled with threats. "Zhao Zi'ang, I will give you the last chance. To be honest, does Chen Man be rescued have nothing to do with you? If you dare to confuse me, I will immediately punish you for deceiving the emperor." Zhao Zi'ang shook his body and finally couldn't bear it anymore. He confessed in a low voice, "Your Highness, I know a little. Chen Man has a big backer behind him, a far-fledged relative of Chen Xiangshu. He holds military power. He heard that this time he sent someone to rescue Man. They seem to be secretly hiding something important, and I really don't know the specific one." I was shocked and my hands holding the teacup were tightened. Military power? The bigger the matter is, the bigger the people behind Chen Man are actually such a big shot. Li Xiaoxian's face also darkened, obviously realizing the seriousness of the matter. With a wave of his hand, the servant Relima dragged Zhao Zi'ang down and turned to me and said softly, "Miss Lin, this matter is not bad. This palace must go to the palace to meet your father immediately. You can stay in Dong Palace and wait for me to come back." I clicked my head, and my heart was overturned. This Chen Man is really a mess. But I am not a vegetarian. Since she dares to play so much, I, Lin Xiao, will play with her to the end. In the next few days, there was sensation in the capital city, and there were signs of searching for Qin Man on the streets, but she was like evaporated between people, and she could not find a shadow. I stayed in Dong Palace, and every day I heard the news brought back by Li Xiaoxiao, and my heart became more and more uneasy. Until the fifth night, an explosive news came: Qin Man was caught. Not only that, the remote relative behind her also posted a website, confessing their plan of rebellion, and confirmed that the Qin family was finished. When I heard the news, my heart finally let go. That night, Li Xiaoxiao took me to the Dali temple cell and saw Qin Man who was being held. She no longer had the same look as tall as before, with her hair scattered and covered in dust on her face, looking like a beggar. As soon as she saw me, she widened her eyes and gritted her teeth and shouted, "Lin Xiaoxiao, you are such a valet. If it weren't for you, how could I, Qin Man, fall into this field? It was you who destroyed everything about me." I sneered and looked at her with my arms in my arms. "Qin Man, you really want to turn the tables? You are not upright in your own mind, you are harming people, you are framed by the system, and you want to rebel. Now that you are in such a situation, who is so weird? If you had known today, why would you have been in the beginning?" Qin Man was so angry that she shook her body, but she could no longer speak, so she could only stare at me fiercely, her eyes full of resentment. I had to pay attention to her again and turned to Li Xiaoxiao and said, "Your Highness, it's a pity to keep such a person. You should just dispose of him earlier, so as not to have too many dreams." Li Xiaoxiao pointed his head and glanced at Qin Man with cold eyes. "I will report to my father, and the Qin family is rebelling, and the crime is unforgivable, and there will be a decree in the coming day." When Qin Man heard this, he finally collapsed. He sat on the ground, muttering, "It's over, it's over." I felt so happy when I looked at her like this. From the calculations at the first banquet, to the later stage of dressing and setting up a bureau, she forced herself to the extreme step by step, and now she is always suffering from her own losses. In the next few days, the Qin family's case was finally settled. Qin Man and her remote relatives were punished. The Qin family was circulated. Zhao Zi'ang was also assigned to the border for joining and framed me and never returned to Beijing. After the news broke, the whole capital was discussing this major case, and my Lin Xiaoxiao's name became a hot topic on the streets and alleys. Have you heard it? That lady from the Lin family is really awesome. She turned into a princess from a joke of breaking off the engagement, and even the Qin family fell into her hands. That's right. Who would have thought that Lin Xiao, who was a small-time friend, could step Zhao Zi'ang and Qin Man under his feet? This is simply a legend. After hearing these comments, I couldn't say anything very quickly. From the day I was dismissed, I vowed to make those who looked down on me regret it, and now I finally did it. What made me even more excited was that Li Xiaoxiao's attitude towards me became more and more gentle. He often took me to the royal garden to relax and even taught me to play chess. Although I was tortured to death every time, the feeling of being fed was really sweet. Turning around, it was the day for Li Xiaoxiao and I to get married. The entire East Palace lamps and lanterns filled every corner, and the officials in the capital came to talk about it, and the scene was extremely hot. I was wearing a crown and a robe, and the beads on my head made my eyes blurry, but I was filled with expectation. From today on, I, Lin Xiao, will be the crown princess. Who dares to underestimate me? The wedding was held smoothly, and after worshipping the world, Li Xiaoxiao and I were sent into the bridal chamber. The red swayed, reflecting the warm light of the room. He gently picked my head, his eyes filled with gentleness. "Soon, from now on, you will be the wife of our palace. This palace will surely protect you for the rest of your life." When my heart moved, my nose felt a little sore. From being dismissed from getting involved to becoming a princess, I have suffered so much hardships and grievances along the way, but now looking at Li Xiaoxiao's eyes, I feel that everything is worth it. I choked my head lightly, my voice choked. "Your Highness, I believe in you." He smiled and held my hand, the warm touch made my heart beat faster. At this moment, a sudden sound of knocking on the door came from outside the door, and a voice from a young monitor sounded, "Your Highness, it's not good. Zhao Zi'ang." Zhao Zi'ang fled back from the border and is now kneeling outside the East Palace, saying that he wants to see Miss Lin for the last time. I was stunned, and the smile on my face froze instantly. This scumbag is really unwilling to give up. She has been dispensed with the border. Do you dare to run back? I snorted coldly and turned to Li Xiaoxiao. Your Highness, this person is just a mess. Why not just send someone to catch him back so as not to ruin our good days? Li Xiaoxiao pointed his head and his eyes turned cold. Come on, take Zhao Zi'ang back to the cell and deal with it after the wedding of this palace. But I was still a little worried and walked to the door of the East Palace to see what this scumbag was trying to do. Sure enough, Zhao Zi'ang knelt outside the door, covered in dust, and there were still a few blood marks hanging on his face, watching the wolf's wrinkle beating. As soon as he saw me, he climbed over and shouted in a voice, "Soon, I'm so wrong. I ran for 3 days and 3 nights just to see you again. Please give me a chance, I heard you all this, can you?" I looked at his sad look and felt a little sad. I smiled coldly, and my language was filled with mockery. Zhao Zi'ang, you are so persevering. You just want to be disgusted with me when you run away? Sorry, I am the crown princess now. You are such a person who doesn't deserve to carry my shoes. Come on, drag him down and don't let him dirty the door of the East Palace. The servant immediately stepped forward and dragged Zhao Zi'ang away. He thrust all the way, shouting Xiaoxiao, please, but I didn't even look at it, and turned back to the bridal chamber. When Li Xiaoxiao saw me coming back, he gently folded my shoulder and asked with a smile, what, the scumbag came back and begged you, are you feeling soft? I curled my lips and replied without any worries, I'm so soft. I'll make him regret it. Your Highness, let's not worry about him. The night is short, don't waste time. Li Xiaoxiao heard it, and a smile flashed in his eyes, and he lowered his head and kissed my sides lightly. Okay, I hear you all. That night, the light shook and the room was warm, and the haze in my heart finally disappeared. From the joke of being dismissed from the engagement to the current crown princess, I, Lin Xiao, have used my efforts and wisdom to make a complete comeback. The next stage of Zhao Zi'ang and Chen Man is the best proof for me who should not step on me, because I am destined to be the most dazzling legend in the capital.